welcome to the Villarreal update provided to you by Villarreal USA with me, Jamie Kemble. Today we're talking about Villarreal's Friday night clash with Cadiz. This one will be a little bit shorter because of the quick turnaround, the clash on Friday with Cadiz, as well as the transfer deadline and the Europa League draw. So a lot to squeeze in over the next couple of days. What we'll talk about today are the three things we want to see from Villarreal against Cadiz. It should be an interesting clash against a Cadiz side who have looked pretty solid early on this season. They beat Alaves, they drew with Almeria last weekend, and then before that they put on a very kind of brave performance against Barcelona away from home. So they should be tough to beat, particularly away from home. But we'll talk about the three things we want to see from Villarreal after that narrow and entertaining defeat against Barcelona last weekend. Firstly, I just mentioned Cadiz have been pretty solid so far. They've conceded a few goals, and especially if you take away that brave performance against Barcelona, where they could easily have got a point but managed to hold on before their resolve was broken. They conceded too late on. So away from home, what we want to see from Villarreal is more a continuation of the kind of fluid play they showed last week offensively. Villarreal didn't have any real problem scoring against Barcelona. Solot playing well, Gerard Moreno playing well. Yeremy Pino's coming back into the fold and should feature in some way this weekend, even if it's off the bench. And perhaps we'll see Ben Bird and Diaz start as well. But they'll face a different kind of test this weekend. Barcelona, of course, left gaps as they attacked Villarreal last weekend, but Cadiz are more likely to sit back in, knowing that they're playing against tougher opposition this weekend, that they're not favourites, even at home. So you'd expect them to sit in, and that's the kind of team Villarreal have struggled against in previous years, really. So let's see how Villarreal shape up against that. And what we want to see is a continuation of that fluid attacking play, with Villarreal moving the ball quickly, exploiting gaps with overflows like we saw with Pedro Aznar against Barcelona, and of course scoring goals, something that hasn't always come easy for Villarreal. Although more so under Quique Setién, it has to be said, with Villarreal are that much more attacking. And that leads us on to the second thing we want to see. We need to see more defensive solidarity from Villarreal. They were sloppy last weekend at the back, conceding 5 at home to Barcelona, and an inexcusable total of goals to concede against any club at home. Villarreal struggled particularly without the ball, struggled to keep shape, struggled to prevent Barcelona from creating space when they had the ball. And that's something Quique Setién spoke about after the game, admitting that it is a weakness of his team that they struggle when they haven't got the ball. Listen, this will be a different kind of game. Cadiz are not going to manage to create as many clear-cut chances as Barcelona did. They're not as good on the ball. They haven't got the quality of player to force that space if Villarreal sit behind the ball when they haven't got it. So Villarreal really should have an easier task defending without the ball, but we certainly want to see more improvements in that area when Cadiz do have the ball and when they are pressing Villarreal, and need to be better at controlling chances, because even against Mallorca in the previous week, Villarreal did give up some chances late on. They have to work on that area of the game if they're going to really compete for a top 4, top 5 position this season. And kind of linked to that, the third thing that certainly I want to see is Raul Albiol. Of course, missed the early part of the season through an injury he picked up last season, so he's a bit behind in terms of fitness, I'm sure, missing a lot of pre-season, doing a lot of individual work over the course of the summer, not featuring in any of the pre-season games. But it's hard to get a real gauge of Villarreal's centre-back partnership at the moment. Gabia and Cuenca hadn't played with each other at all before this summer. Of course, Villarreal lost Pau Torres and have had to really start the season with a completely new centre-back partnership, which will be difficult for any team to pull off and remain defensively solid. So I guess what we want to see is whether Raul Albiol coming into that centre-back partnership, whether it's with Cuenca or Gabia, whether his leadership and the kind of continuity, the Albiol knowing a bit better, understanding a bit better what Quique Setién wants of his back line, having played under him last season. I guess it'd be interesting to see how Villarreal's defensive level of defensive play, whether it improves under Albiol or whether there are general problems, in systemic problems in how they play defensively. So hopefully we get a good look at Raul Albiol back in the starting lineup this weekend. And it's the exact kind of physical game that he thrives in against the Cadiz side, who are more physical than many of the teams in La Liga. So let's see if we see those three key things this weekend, or this Friday night, of course, this game coming earlier than usual. Villarreal playing before the rest of the teams, but there's some reward in that they'll have more rest before, well, over the course of the international break now, and then before coming back and hopefully kicking on as well. So let's see. Of course, like I just said, the Europa League draw takes place on Friday. We'll have a quick reaction to that, and of course a reaction video after the game as well as a little transfer recap, hopefully, depending on whether Villarreal actually do any more business in this window. Of course, most of the business has been outgoing if you take away a lot of the free signings that came very early in the summer. So stay tuned for all that, and as ever, head to Villarreal USA for more in-depth coverage of Villarreal in English.